Master Gardener here in Des Moines County. We appreciate your support of our annual Des Moines County Master Gardener plant sale. Members put a lot of work, time into planning and planting growing plants for you through training through Iowa State University. With that said, if you have the time and space, you can grow your own and have different varieties and save a lot of money. Did you know there are more than 7,200 different tomato plants available? That's true. Important things to know before purchasing seeds is to determine if you wish to preserve by canning or freezing, or if you're going to eat tomatoes fresh like on a BLT or sliced into a salad. There are two main growth characteristics of tomato plants. There's determinate and there's indeterminate. Determinate are the Roma types, and they have a flush of tomatoes all at once, and you picked all the tomatoes and the plant is done. That's the end of the harvest for that year. But the indeterminate tomato plants keep blooming and growing until frost. The days to maturity, as stated in seed catalogs, is the time from the transplanting of the tomato plant until your first harvest. So if they say it is 75 days, they mean from planting in the ground or in a container until that first tomato is ripe. And obviously that was first measured in a greenhouse under ideal conditions, so it may not be exactly the same number of days for you. All right, so let's talk about the different kinds of tomatoes, like heirloom, hybrid, open pollinated. The first heirloom was coined by the Seed Savers Exchange, of which the seeds were handed down through a family, like an heirloom, like a desk or a chair, like a piece of furniture is an heirloom. The seeds were handed down from family member to family member, and so they're as much of an heirloom as anything else. The open pollinated tomatoes is what we always had until 1949, when the big boy tomato hybrid came to be. And so then we had something different. Hybrids are intentionally cross-pollinated in a controlled atmosphere like a greenhouse, and then they take pollen from one and pollen from another, and they cross them, and then you have a hybrid. You can't save seeds from a hybrid because then they'll revert back to portions of one plant or the other plant. So that's the advantage of an heirloom. One advantage anyway is that you can save seeds and regrow that same one. The other advantage is that seed companies own these patents on these hybrids. And one example is Big Girl tomato was very popular, but then that seed company went out of business, and so they took the patent with them, and there's no Big Girl anymore. So common problems that will arise is if you plant your seeds and the little seedlings sprout up and then just fall over, and that's the end of them. That's a Pythium disease, right? It's called damping off. Okay, and damping off is terrible if you don't have, but there is one cure for it, and that is using a 4-to-1 ratio of chamomile tea. So that kills the Pythium in there, and it's natural. And so let's plant some seeds in some cells here. I'll show you how easy it is. I've got an heirloom variety. And we're just going to pour some in this bowl. Okay. Wet your finger, pick one up, put it in the peat pellet there. Put in the peat pellet like that. And we're just going to cover it with a little bit of peat that's already there. I use a pencil for this. I'm going to push it down just a little bit and cover it up. Push that seed down, cover it up. Push that one down, cover it up. And the depth of planting is about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and then you fill these. This is 12 pellets in this tray. And this is the Jiffy Greenhouse that has the 12 pellets in it. And they come compressed, so you have to use water to expand the pellets, okay? Which I've already done here. They come flat. Yes. So I know what this is. It's an heirloom called Ivan. So I'm going to write Ivan on a sticky. And I'm going to put that right on here so that I know what that is. And then there's a little dome that comes with this. And I'll do the same thing on the dome. Just to make sure that if one of the stickies come off, I still have it labeled, because that's the most important part about this. So I'll label the dome and the tray. And there you have it. In about 5 to 7 days, they should pop up. And you need to, when they pop up, you should put them under light. Artificial light is fine if you have it. And you don't need to go out and buy a specialty grow light, because a 4-foot shop light works fine. The most important part about that is to have like a reflector over it. You know, you don't want a strip light. You want a reflector on it that is white or chrome. And you want to use the proper wavelength of the bulb, and that would be the 5500K for growing plants. It's also known as daylight, so you could buy a daylight bulb too. And then anyway, so you put these under the lights, and then they're going to grow, and then there's such a thing as hardening off. Okay. Hardening off can be a little tricky, because you're going to be taking these seedlings outside after 3 weeks of growth. What you want to do at first is put them under the shade, because the shade is stronger than artificial lights. Even though it may seem dark to us, there's still plenty of sunlight for a little tender seedling. And you want to keep putting them in the shade for 3 or 4 days, and then gradually you can move them and give them more sun. And so then eventually after five weeks, they'll be growing outside. And then you're also going to take this pea pellet, and you're going to transplant that into a pot by tearing off the netting, right? And you're going to put this seedling right in a pot and fill it with the soil, and then take it out in the garden when the weather is above 65 degrees, and there you go, you have your own tomato plant. One thing I do as an organic gardener is I use organic fertilizers. Okay, now this is a very popular one. It's by Espoma, and it's just garden tone, and it's a granular, and you would use this, put this in the hole right before you plant the tomato. And you can also side dress around the tomato too. Garden tone. This, I'm not sure what the, it's composition is 3-4-4, and you don't want too much nitrogen for a tomato plant. I also use a product called Trifecta. Trifecta is now preferred over Espoma, but Espoma is available locally at Lowe's and Walmart, whereas this is only available online. And this composition is 5-10-4, and that's perfect for tomatoes. This is also a granular, and you put that in the hole, and you side dress around the plant also. Now, if you want to go with a organic water-soluble fertilizer, I use Texas Tomato Food, right? And the composition is 4, 2.9, and 6.7. So very precise on that. This bottle right here makes 64 gallons. So you don't use but 1 ounce per gallon. And that's 64 ounces. So anyway, that's all there is to it.